3:47 a.m. You've been lying here for 2 hours. Your body is exhausted. But your brain is running a marathon it never signed up for. Replaying an awkward moment from 3 years ago, analyzing a text from your boss, rehearsing a conversation that hasn't happened. And you know you're doing it. You can see yourself overthinking, but knowing doesn't stop it, does it? What if this isn't a flaw? It's a feature. Your brain was built to do this. The problem isn't the thinking. The problem is, you were never taught how to turn it off. 200,000 years ago, your ancestors weren't scrolling their phones at 3 a.m. They were in a cave, and survival depended on predicting danger before it arrived. That rustle in the bushes, wind or predator, that silence in the tribe. Are they about to exile you? The brain that obsessed over uncertainty survived. Today, there's no tiger. But your brain doesn't know that. It processes an unread email using the same neural machinery it evolved for predators. Your amygdala, the threat detection center, can't distinguish between a physical danger and a psychological one. And here's where it gets even stranger. fMRI studies show that social rejection activates the anterior cingulate cortex, a region that also processes physical pain. Your brain processes exclusion and injury through overlapping pathways. Embarrassment and a broken bone share neural real estate. So when you're lying awake at 3 a.m. replaying an awkward conversation, your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It just never got the memo that the predator is gone. What if I told you the fastest way to stop overthinking has nothing to do with your thoughts? Your overthinking lives in the default mode network, your brain's autopilot. But the DMN is terrible at multitasking with intense physical sensation. So when you notice the spiral starting, physically move. Stand up, clap your hands hard, splash cold water on your face. The cold water triggers your dive reflex. Your brain immediately shifts resources to the present moment. It's a hard reset, not of your thoughts, but of your nervous system. One woman I worked with started keeping a bowl of ice water by her bed. Every night at 10 p.m., the spiral would start. She'd dunk her face for 10 seconds. The spiral broke. Not because she argued with her thoughts, but because her brain had something more urgent to process. Try this today. When you catch yourself looping, stand up and stretch for 30 seconds. The brain cannot loop and move intentionally at the same time. A few years ago, researchers tested a strangely simple idea on chronic worriers. Instead of fighting anxious thoughts, they told people to schedule them, 30 minutes a day, same time, same chair. Worry deliberately. The results surprised even the researchers. Anxiety dropped significantly, not because people worried less, but because worrying had boundaries. Their brains learned. The threat will be addressed at 7 p.m., not now. Here's why it works. Your amygdala needs to feel heard. If you try to suppress worrying thoughts, they come back stronger. Psychologists call this the rebound effect. But when you give your brain a container, a specific time and place, you tell your amygdala, "I hear you. We'll deal with this at 7 p.m." The brain relaxes because the threat is scheduled. Try this. Set a daily worry appointment, 7 to 7:10 p.m. When anxious thoughts arrive at 11 a.m., write them down and say, "Not now, we have an appointment." That tiny act of postponement tells your brain, you're in control, not the thought. This next one seems almost too simple, but the neuroscience behind it is remarkable. When you catch yourself overthinking, say it out loud. "I'm in a loop right now." Better yet, give it a name. Ah, there's the everyone hates me story again. Oh, look, the I'm getting fired fantasy is back. In 2007, UCLA researcher Matthew Lieberman made a fascinating discovery. When people simply named the emotion they were feeling, activity in their amygdala decreased substantially. Just by putting feelings into words, the act of labeling activates your prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, which in turn dampens the amygdala's alarm response, like turning on a light in a dark room. The fear doesn't disappear, but you can see it for what it is. Just a thought. One viewer told me she named her overthinking loop Karen. Every time she spiraled, she'd say, "Karen's back," and it made her laugh. The laughter plus the labeling, double interruption. Try this. Next time you spiral, pause and say, "I notice I'm having the thought that," and finish the sentence. That tiny gap between I and the thought. That's where your power lives. Let's pause. So far, you can interrupt the loop with your body. You can contain worry with a timer, teaching your amygdala there's a time and place. And you can name it, shrinking its hold just by labeling it. But these techniques manage thoughts that are already here. What if you could reduce how many your brain generates in the first place? That's the next level. Here's a strange experiment from acceptance and commitment therapy. Take a negative thought. I'm going to fail. Now say it out loud. Then say it again. And again. After about 45 seconds, something bizarre happens. The words start to sound like meaningless sounds. The emotional charge drains out. This is cognitive diffusion. Normally, you're fused with your thoughts. I'm going to fail feels like a fact. But when you repeat it until it loses meaning, your brain registers the disconnect. Content and delivery don't match. Now the practical version. You don't need 45 seconds. Say your anxious thought out loud in a ridiculous voice. A cartoon character, a dramatic opera singer. Text it to yourself with absurd emojis. I'll never succeed. Why does this work? Because your brain processes the mismatch between the serious content and the silly delivery. That mismatch breaks the fusion. The thought is still there, but it's lost its grip. Try it today. Record a voice memo of your worst worry, then play it back at double speed. Notice how different it feels when it's not inside your head. Why do some people overthink constantly, while others seem immune? Part of the answer may lie in how much training their attention has had. A 2011 study at Yale found something striking. Experienced meditators showed significantly less default mode network activity, even when they weren't meditating. Their brain's resting state had changed. They weren't fighting overthinking, and their brains were generating fewer loops to begin with. Think of it like this. Every time you notice your mind has wandered and you gently bring it back, that's a rep for your attention muscle. And like any muscle, it strengthens. A Harvard study found that just 8 weeks of daily meditation increased gray matter density in brain regions linked to attention and self-awareness. Here's your practice. No incense required. Sit somewhere quiet. Focus on your breath. Within 10 seconds, your mind will wander. That's not failure. That is the exercise. Notice it wandered. Return to the breath. Do this for 3 minutes a day. The goal isn't to stop thinking. It's to practice noticing that you're thinking. That awareness, that's what gets stronger. You're in too deep. The spiral has already started. Pattern interrupt didn't work. The timer feels pointless. Naming it just made it more real. This is the moment for the simplest tool of all. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath and ask yourself a single question. What is the next right action? Not the solution to the whole problem, not the 5-year plan, just the next tiny step. Here's why this works when nothing else does. Overthinking is almost always about the future, things you can't control. But when you ask, what is the next right action? You force your brain out of its default mode network and into its task-positive network, the mode for doing. Your brain can't ruminate about tomorrow and focus on the next small step simultaneously. Navy SEALs are trained to ask a version of this in chaos. Not, how do I survive this mission? Just, what's the next thing? So when you're stuck, close your eyes, a few slow breaths, ask the question, and then, this is crucial, do the action immediately. Even if it's just stand up, even if it's drink water. Action is the antidote. Not thinking about action, actual action. Here's the thing about overthinking that nobody tells you. It's not a sign that you're weak. it's not a malfunction. The most creative, intelligent people I've ever met are also the most prone to mental loops. A busy mind is a powerful mind. It just needs direction. Tonight, when you're lying in bed and the marathon starts, you'll know what to do. Interrupt it with your body. Give it a scheduled container. Name it out loud. Diffuse it with a ridiculous voice. Train your attention so fewer loops appear. And when nothing else works, ask for the next right action and take it. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them, and the one who notices is the one in charge. If this video helped, subscribe to Mind Mechanics. We break down psychology into tools you can actually use. New videos every week. Hit subscribe, and in the comments tell me, what's the one thought that keeps coming back to you? Sometimes writing it out is the first step to letting it go. See you in the next one.